Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much to the marimba that warmed the stage for me. I so much appreciate that. My name is Miss Lungisani Kyali. I'll be your host for today. Without wasting any time, because when I look at the watch, it's exactly 3 o'clock. Allow me to say good morning to those in the Michigan, in the Michigan, and good afternoon for those that are in South Africa. Those are joining us virtually, and good afternoon to you. Without wasting any time, I will ask Dr. Songelwa to come and welcome us. She is the chairperson of the council. Let's give her a round of applause when she's coming back. Thank you.
Molweni. Hayibo, molweni. Ekudala ndagqibela ugoduka. So ndiva kamandi to actually greet you in my language. My name is Nomvuselelo and njengoba sekutshiwo. I have to really acknowledge the strategic partners that have made this event possible today. In South Africa, we have other museums. That we have the Robben Island, the Stellenbosch University Museum, that have partnered with us. In the United States, we have the Rose and Raymond Parks Foundation, the O Street Museum in Washington, the Mind Builders, which is a creative center in New York, the City College of New York, as well as the Michigan State University. So we're very, very grateful as the council to have partnered with them for this particular event. We also know that we have our sister museums in South Africa that are actually watching us. We want to welcome you, in particular the Ditsong Museum, which is a state theater based in Pretoria. We also have our fellow council members that are gracing this occasion here today, and those that we know are actually online. We would really like to welcome everybody else that is here. Thank you very much. And all the school children that are here, you're reminding me of the time 30 years ago when I was still vibrant and dynamic. Good afternoon. Good afternoon in South Africa. Good morning, colleagues out there in the United States. Let me take this opportunity to really give thanks to all the guests that are embracing this occasion, and to those who are watching this historic occasion through social media and other communication platforms. Today's program is live in South Africa and also in the States. Our program director, our beautiful program director, our existence as a museum is defined by the love and appreciation of Nelson Mandela and the sacrifices that he has made. Some of us who are here now, holding the positions that we are holding in different organizations, are a testimony and evidence of the struggles that our iconic political parties have made for us, and we really need to acknowledge them and be grateful for the struggles that they have made. The love and appreciation of Nelson Mandela is embraced by the national and international communities. It is within this context that I can truly confess that Nelson Mandela Museum is indebted to the people of the world, to the democratic values and to the principles of both Nelson Mandela and Mama Rosa Parks. So these leaders were the epitome of human rights, together with others. Today, as we are officially unveiling the newly revamped exhibition, I would be failing in my capacity as the chair of the council of the museum, of this museum, if I do not recognize one of the greatest leaders, a friend, the brother, a comrade to Nelson Mandela. Today, the 27th of October, we celebrate the birthday of our icon, which is the longest serving president of the ANC, Ntate Oliver Tambo. And I'm going to take this opportunity to also just celebrate and acknowledge all the others that are born on this day, the 27th of October. Ntate Tambo, as you all know, is amongst those credible leaders who paved way for an international solidarity. Like Ntate Nelson Mandela and Rosa Parks, Ntate Oliver Tambo had a common objective of fighting for human rights. Program Director, it's not a coincidence that the Nelson Mandela Museum, the Michigan State University, the Rosa and Raymond Parks Institute, and other partners have set aside this day to celebrate the voices of children who have identified Nelson Mandela and Rosa Parks as champions of democracy, justice, and human rights. So on behalf of the Council, I wish to indicate that it's not a mistake that the US Embassy in Cape Town provided funding for the revamping of this exhibition. As you all know, US was one of the countries Mandela visited after his release from prison in 1990. So we do have mutual relations with the United States. To that effect, many South Africans have made South Africa their residence, as you all know, and the other way around. So during the epic period of fights against apartheid, you all know that many Americans joined forces in support of the liberation struggle. So the partnership between the museum and the Michigan State University remains an important one. So through this partnership, many Michigan State University graduates have visited the museum, and similarly, our own staff had actually done so in an exchange program. So we do enjoy the result of this partnership, of this unveiling, which we call Dear Mr. Mandela, Dear Mrs. Parks, Children's Letters and Global Lessons. It's letters from children to illustrate shared values and goals of courage and hope, the struggle for freedom, the power of knowledge and education, faith and spirituality held by both Mama Parks and Tata Mandela. What gives us joy is the fact that it's our children who saw it necessary to write these letters to our leaders and appreciate their contribution towards the promotion of human rights. We are taking few of those messages from this exhibition, and I think it's very important that before you leave, you have to really read through these messages. I was really inspired yesterday when I had this tour by one of our colleagues. foundation of our children. And as a council of the museum, we are asking these questions, and we want you to do this introspection. Are we doing enough to emulate Nelson Mandela and Rosa Parks? Are we doing enough to protect our children? Are we doing enough to make sure that our children have better education facilities? Are we doing enough in enhancing social cohesion programs in our society? And are we really doing enough in ensuring that our children have shelter, food, water, and access to education, to mention a few? So we pose these questions to you, community of South Africa, the community of OR Tambo, children, youth. And we want to encourage you to become the Mandelas and the Parks of today, so you can leave a legacy where people will refer you to have created a path for others. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Songel, for such a warm words of us. With what you said, that you're asking whether are we the Rosas or the Mandelas of tomorrow. There's a letter that I have abstracted, which was written to Mrs. Park. A child saying that, Mrs. Park, you are my role model. I wish that you could be me. Because the two icons were responding to the authors or to the children, Mrs. Parks responded by saying that the sky is the limit. So now, children, we are saying to you, the sky is the limit. We are not limiting you to be the roses or to be the icons themselves. I have abstracted a video on our first exhibition, as the icon itself, that Nelson Mandela mentioned what is it that they had in common with Mrs. Parks. If you can allow us, Tim, to view it on the screen. Thank you so much.
It is an honor for us to be sharing this exhibition, a platform, with a person of the caliber of Mrs. Rosa Parks, who is recognized as the mother of the U.S. civil rights movement. Another great American, W.E. Du Bois, warned that the problem of the last century was the problem of the color line. We tried to remove the prism of race from the way people look at the world. Mrs. Parks and I had other things in common. Among the most precious was the gift of receiving letters from children around the world. Children are so honest, uncomplicated, full of love. We often say that children are our future, but they are also our present and our past. If we can bring knowledge to children, we can help them realize their true potential. I hope that many children will have the opportunity to visit this exhibition. Thank you to all concerned for bringing history to life in Kulu.
Kind of thinking whether if Madiba was still alive, what he would have said with this revamping of this exhibition. For entertainment, we'll go to Nozpendu Cultural Group. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much for that. That is North Pendu Cultural Group from Utsolo, which shows that the Nelson Mandela Museum is not only from Tata, it also have made partnership with other LMs. A round of applause for that. Thank you so much. Because of the content of the exhibition, we looked at who is it related to, who is our focus group, and we saw that it's a number of children that it is our focus group. We are now into our activities of letter reviewing, that whereby the two learners are to review letters which were written to Mr. Mandela and to Mrs. Parks, the two icon itself. Now I'm going to call upon by K-Team Casa High School to come and do the review of Mr. Mandela. Thank you so much. A round of applause when she's coming. Thank you so much.
A winner is a dreamer who never gives up, he said. Ladies and gentlemen, he never gave up until his voice was heard, until his actions were recognized, until the voices of the South Africans were heard. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. Ladies and gentlemen, he came, he lived, he saw, and he conquered. Now, that's my first black president. With those words, I say greetings to the adjudicators, timekeeper, and the house at large. Standing in front of you, it's Mtichwa Nokolo, a grade 10 learner from K-Team Casa Secondary School. And I'm here to do a book review under the book titled Letters to Madiba, Voices of the South African Children. Voices of the South African Children. The hearts of the little ones poured in a piece of paper. The pleas and cries, the compliments and admiration of their grandfather, the gratitude and appreciation of Madiba. Ladies and gentlemen, this book was written in 2002. It was written after a competition that was held, a competition that allowed children to put down their thoughts in a piece of paper, a competition that allowed children to tell us why they are proud to be South Africans. This book was published in 2002 by Matthew Miller Longman. It is benefiting the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, which was founded by President Mandela in 1995. With its mission, which is to address the challenges that the South African children face in a daily basis. Ladies and gentlemen, this book is undoubtedly a very important landmark in the long history of symbiotic relationship between Madiba and the children, characterized by mutually deep and overwhelming love. Their work is brimming with the spirit of hope, optimism, and great pride in who they are and in their country. Ladies and gentlemen, at the same time, they sensitively raise concerns about our country's biggest problems and challenges, such as HIV and AIDS, crime rate, pollution, cancer, etc. Above all, they highlight a heart-rending cry to be acknowledged, to be heard, to be taken seriously. So, ladies and gentlemen, who are we to ignore them? Without wasting any further time, I would like to quickly attend to these letters. Firstly, a letter written by Apelile Makubalo, who is from Cape Town in Khayelitsha. In this letter, she thanks Madiba for everything he has done for South Africa. She is grateful for the education she's receiving. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a line that she wrote, and I quote, "I am happy because I love the way I look and who I am." This line teaches us about the importance of self-pride, self-confidence, and self-love. It teaches us to appreciate and embrace who we are. Ladies and gentlemen, secondly, a letter written by Giabenzo Sauti, who is 10 years old. In this letter, she is grateful for the opportunity she has. An opportunity to dream and to build castles in the air. An opportunity to imagine a better future for children. Ladies and gentlemen, the spirit and hope she has is truly mesmerizing. She says, and I quote, "I go to bed with a smile on my face and hope in my heart that South Africa will be like Disneyland to all its children." Ladies and gentlemen, she teaches us that it never kills to have hope. It never kills to dream. So even if we are living under this pandemic, we should never lose hope. Hope for something better. Hope that South Africa has a better future for us. Moving on, a letter written by Suzette Masondo, which says, "You taught me that it is more important to fight or to kill. You taught me that it is more important to talk than it is more important to fight or to kill." Ladies and gentlemen, this is the letter of a grade 3 learner. So, ladies and gentlemen, with the gender-based violence in South Africa, we act like it is more important to fight and to kill than it is more important to talk. So tell me, if a grade 3 learner knows that it is more important to talk than it is more important to fight or to kill, why don't we? This letter teaches us about the importance of reconciliation, and of course, she learned it from the great Madiba, the legend himself. Moving on, Kyle Hendricks, a grade 6 learner from Cape Town. In this letter, he is concerned about the rising crime rate in South Africa. In his letter, he asks Madiba to lend a hand. And sets a mission to change it. Even so, he is still a proud South African. Why am I proud to be a South African? A poem by Gabriela Brandao. Ladies and gentlemen, he says, he is proud to be a South African because we are one colorful nation. We stand in unity, and we have our very own hero, Mr. Nelson Mandela. Ladies and gentlemen, he says, we are news shakers, makers, and fighters for peace. I can go to any school and use any library. A letter by Apelile Makubalo. Ladies and gentlemen, in this letter, she tells us about the importance of education. She thanks Madiba for bringing peace in South Africa, making South Africa a united country, for breaking down racism and discrimination. Ladies and gentlemen, South Africa, a country of peace, she says. She is proud to be a South African. The home of the Big Five, the home of gold and diamond, the diversity of cultures, the diversity of people, the diversity of tribes. Ladies and gentlemen, who would not want to be a South African? To Mr. Nelson Mandela, everyone's role model, everyone's role model, a friend to many, a father to many, and an enemy to none. True love, peace, and harmony, you made us one. The cold nights you spent on Robben Island, the tears of your family, the tears of your friends, the tears of South Africa, but still, you forgave and loved your oppressors. For that, you made me proudly South African.
Apparently, this audience is not even waiting for me to say a round of applause. I can see that you're just going to be an audience that won't listen. Okay, a round of applause for him. Thank you so much. How was this well-structured presentation that you spoke about what was written in 2010? You tried to connect it with what we are experiencing now. When you touched that on the letter, what is it that we're experiencing now in terms of the gender-based violence? That is great. We're going to go now. Allow me to acknowledge within our sister organization, the members of the council, for those that who just walked in, the staff of the Nelson Mandela Museum, our sister organization, Department of Sport, Recreation, Arts and Culture, members of the community, the KSD municipality, the OR Tambo municipality, and other stakeholders, and the children. The Nelson Mandela Museum have identified the children within the Mandela Trail. Hence, you see those children. Those are from the Nelson Mandela Trail. Now, we're going to, we're going to call on the review of the Dale College. This is one of the students that is coming from King Limstown, from the home of the legend, Dadu Steve Biko. Let's give him a round of applause, and then after that, we're going to go straight to the entertainment. Thank you so much.
Good morning or good afternoon. Um, if in order for you to be tall, I have to be on my knees, then you have a serious problem. My blood will be the fruit that will nourish the trees that will bear the fruits of freedom in my country. I luta continua, tell my people that I love them and that they should continue the fight. Ladies and gentlemen, I was informed to review letters on Miss Rosa Parks. Miss Rosa Parks, on the 1st of December in 1955, was on her way home from work, was told to give up a seat in the black section, and she decided not to because she was tired of segregation and was arrested for that. Rosa Parks understood the consequences, and she chose to confront segregation head on. Rosa Parks is remarkable, honorable, and respected for who she was and why she stood up for what she believed in. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to ask someone a few questions. May I please ask the third person from the first row? Dagabahle. Who is your hero or heroine? Why is he or she your hero or your heroine? And what would you say, what would you ask if you had the opportunity to meet with them? Can you please stand up and answer the question, sir?
Thank you for the question. My hero, I'll just stick to the theme, in fact, is everyone's hero here, Utatomkhulu Nelson Mandela.
Yes, sir.
He's my hero because of his sacrifices that we all know. He fought for the liberation of the country, not as an individual, but he was part of a collective. What would I ask him? I would ask him maybe to come back and to see if is this the nation he fought for? Is this the nation? I would ask him a couple of questions. Is this the nation he went to prison for? Are these the sacrifices, or are these the fruits of his sacrifices together with those he went to prison with? So there's just a number of things which us as the ones who remain behind are unsatisfied with. And I would really ask him, is he where he is now really satisfied with how the country is moving forward? Thank you.
I would like to tell you about my hero. My hero is my father, because, thank you. Because first of all, my father is a stand-up. He stands up for what he believes in, and he never gave up on his dream. Secondly, my father is a breadwinner. I never went to bed without food in my stomach, and I thank him every day for that. And I would tell him, I tell him every day that I love him and respect him for who he is and what he has done. And if that is not close or similar to what Rosa Parks fought for, then I don't know what it is. The first letter that I'm going to review was written by an R&B, or let me say blues artist, Lionel Richie, in May 11, 1995. And it goes like this. Dear Miss Rosa Parks, the reason I'm writing this letter to you is to ask you for a special request. I would love the opportunity to have a photo taken with you. It would be great to meet with you on this, and it would be a wonderful opportunity for my 13-year-old to see and recognize the progress that has taken place in our country in the last century. For my own personal pride, I would love the picture to be taken as part of my family history. And from the first paragraph, you can only notice that Mr. Lionel Richie honored Ms. Rosa Parks for who she is. And she is respectable for that. And everyone else will honor her because she is still relevant till this day. Because she stood up as a black woman and fought and never gave up. The second letter that I'm going to review is from an anonymous writer. No one knows whether he or she wrote the letter before or after Ms. Rosa Parks died. But in the letter, you noticed that he or she admires Ms. Rosa Parks for who she was, or who she was at that time, yeah. And it goes like this. Dear Ms. Parks, I just finished reading and writing about your life. I wanted to write to tell you how amazed I am by everything you have accomplished and to say thank you for teaching me some important life lessons. I learned that you did not have an easy life. You lived during the time of the Jim Crow laws, which treated African American people unfairly. For example, you had walked to school when white children had the chance to take the bus. And I also learned that you had to leave school, go and find a job to feed your sick grandmother, which shows how remarkable Miss Rosa Parks was. Later, you inspired the Montgomery bus boycott, which later on went on for 381 days, which shows how black people and people of color were determined and hoped and really, really, really wanted freedom in America. Reading about your life taught me that one person can actually make a change. You lived during a very unfair time, but you decided not to give up your seat on the bus, which helped to change not only one, but the laws that the African American people had to live by. I also want to try and make a difference in my community, in my country one day, and I hope that I would be as strong as you are and stand up for what I believe in. Thank you for everything that you did, sincerely. And I want to challenge everyone in this arena today, and I want to say that it starts with you. If you don't face the challenges of racial issues in our country today, because there still are, and believe me, there still are. I was reading an article earlier this year in March. A varsity student was looking for accommodation in Cape Town, and when she got there, the white person that owned the property said he didn't want black people in his property, which shows that we still have a long way to go. And whether you believe it or not, you depend on it. Know that your children depend on it. Know that our children depend on it, and our children's children depend on it. And if you don't decide to face the challenges head on, then we still be facing this challenge centuries and centuries and more centuries to come. Thank you.
A round of applause once more. Thank you so much. To the learners that just reviewed the letters, both of you, that was a great presentation. This and a revamp of an exhibition that you had. We are so grateful and honored that one of the team members is within us. If you allow us, Ms. Nelly Mkhize, to stand up, because she's also part of the people that revamped this exhibition. If you could just wave and so that we can see you and give you a round of applause. Thank you so much. That is my former senior manager. Now we are to be entertained by the Mindful Builders from the Michigan State. If my team will allow me to play it on screen. Thank you. The children. We are now going to our next speaker, Memories Working with Mr. Mandela. Before we speak about Mr. Mandela, I will go to Mr. Christo Brandt. I want us to be entertained, also to be entertained by Nospendu Group, as the Michigan state requested that when Mr. Christo Brandt, we are the performance is that of the South Africa. So we are requesting for Nospendu to come forth and to give us an entertainment. Thank you so much. What a great performance from Nos Pendu Cultural Group. A round of applause once again to them. Thank you so much. We are now going to our speaker, Mr. Christo Brandt, reflecting on memories on working with Mr. Mandela. Our team, if you can allow us to view. Can you please be quiet up there? Thank you so much. If you're not ready, may I proceed to another speaker? Is that fine? Okay, thank you. It's so unfortunate that I can't sing. I was going to sing in the meantime while still waiting for our team with their technicalities. So it's so unfortunate with that. Can we request, is it possible that we can request the marimba team to come play in the meantime? Team? Should we request the marimba to come entertain us? Can the marimba come and entertain us whilst we're still experiencing some technical problems? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. A round of applause. What a great entertainment from Ekogolweni, one of the Nelson Mandela trails. If I'm certain the song is saying Nelson Mandela, Teta No Time, isn't it saying so? Yeah, I could tell, but it's just that it's so unfortunate that I can't sing. Thank you. We will go to our next performance. which is from Michigan, a poem from Natasha, if the team can play it. Thank you so much.
After a few bad rounds of karaoke and a few good rounds of storytelling, my friend tells me that everything in her life sucks. Her job, her tiny apartment, her boyfriend, her writing career or lack thereof, everything. This woman, with scars for knees, testaments of how many times she's hit rock bottom and survived, sits in a bar crying, telling me about her failed life while at the same time telling me that she's still scared of failing, which confuses me, but also makes me question. Will we ever start to accept that failure is the sum of all the choices we are choosing not to make and not the ones we've made? When my city turned dark and into a playground full of ghosts, we took the lights of Rosa Parks, we stayed, we climbed the poles, turned the lights back on ourselves and made so much noise that the rest of the world had to come back to see what was happening. 2 days after my brother died, I took the strength of Mandela and peeled myself out of bed to go and teach poems to 10th graders, and a week later, a girl who had just lost her mother left a note on my desk that only read, "Thank you. Thank you." And it was in that moment I understood success is not about money or a bottom line. Success is sometimes just the lifeline between your journey and how your story can inspire or save someone else. Tell me, how many times has it felt like winning has forgotten your number, and yet you still decided to not make the call, to not pick up the phone and dial yourself into a future you sit at your desk and dream about? Tell me, how many times this morning have to sound like a daily reminder that this is not the life you were supposed to be living, because that life is on the other side of the risk you are supposed to be taking. That life is packed away in a box of decisions you've hid behind your fears. That life is on the other side of the bridge you've convinced yourself is too to walk across. So yes, chasing your dreams might be scary, but it is also more fulfilling than dying with your own story stuck in your throat. Sometimes you have to do what is not easy. You have to put your fist in your own mouth and pull out the words you want this world to remember you by. Leave that tiny apartment of regret. Imagine every chance you've taken on yourself will catch your fall, and stop waiting. Stop standing still hoping for the perfect opportunity to find you, because there is no time more perfect than now, no moment more yours than this one, no person more deserving of that life you want than you.
To our speaker, reflections working with Mrs. Rosa Parks. From the Michigan, Elaine Still, the director of the Rosa and Raymond Parks self-development. Tim, if you can allow us to view that clip, thank you so much. Are we still experiencing any technical problems so that we can proceed? Just notify me if you're having any technical. Should I proceed? Do you have that of Christo Brandt? Okay. Before we proceed, as I told you that we have one of the members within us, Ms. Mkize, with the new revamped exhibition, it allows a number of, as this is a traveling exhibition, it allows a number of children to write some letters. So it is your chance now that you can write the letters and then you put them into our box. It also allows us, whilst it's going to be here with us for a month, that those letters that were written, we can pin them on the exhibition that we have revamped. The section of the education, in partnership with the library section, are to go and do the outreach programs, encouraging the learners to come and write those letters. It might happen that we might have a third edition of the exhibition. You might never know. Maybe your letter might be there within that exhibition. Yes, thank you so much. If we can have an entertainment before we move to the team's reflection, working on the exhibition. Let us have let us have the marimba, and then after that, Uno's pendu, whilst giving our team to fix the technical problems that are experiencing. Thank you so much. The marimba. Thank you so much for such an entertainment. I'm about to call now our praise singer, our little praise singer, Mr. Vuyo. Can you take the stage, please?
Ngemishoya kuthala zingekabikho imfonomfono.
Wait.
Ngemishoya kuthala zingekabikho imfonomfono. Bebebhala imiyalezo amadala emaphepheni. Bezitya siyanyonyobiswa siqala imiyakalelo yethu singanyonyobisi ya wasinika inkululeko yokuzingca ncatsho ngolaqala owaphumula ixakathile ngalo sinesixhobo sokuwela imilambo yengqaleko ncatsho kuwamathiba ngalo ntsikelelo tata ndikubhalela ndingenakhaya ngelishwa nabazali bawunamele uqaqaqa ithempo lengomso kumuli linxalerha ingaba ubukho undinike ithemba lengomso undibuyisele isidima nam njengabaninzi tata uMandela buya unike ithemba kubantwana beAfrika izikolo owasakhela zona zidlakadlaka isimilo ngaphakathi sinyekanyeke kuquba kuzo ubuhladlunge noburhalarhume ngenxa yeziyobisi ezigcwele yonke indawo tata uMandela buya unike ithemba kubantwana beAfrika. I hope in the heaven up there you have come past Mrs. Park's presence. May you pass our greeting to her. Wow, the great giant of human rights. Tell her to keep praying for an African child. For the future of the world is in your blessings. Thank you, Mr. Mandela. Thank you, Mrs. Parks.
Thank you so much. NgesiXhosa kudla ngothiwa imbongi ayibulelwa kodwa le yam ndizayibulela imbongi yona. Because we experienced technical problems with the mic, I think at the end we will allow him to come and participate again. Because we had to experience some problems with our mic. We are to proceed now. Going to the team that is with their video clips. Then there are 11 members of the team that made this revamping of this exhibition. We are to view their video clips, their messages, working on this. The team, if you can play it for us. Thank you so much.
Greetings from the United States. My name is Cynthia Carter, and I've represented the Rosa and Raymond Parks Institute for Self-Development on the relaunch of this exhibition. I was asked, what did I learn by working on this exhibit? And I would have to say, working with a great group of people from across the world, where our strengths and talents could be used, and we could help uplift each other when needed. I also realized that I am the fruit of the dream of Mr. Mandela and Mrs. Rosa Parks. After becoming a teacher for 16 years, I never thought that I could use my degree in international business in this manner. I would like to thank Ms. Elaine Eason-Steele and Ms. Anita Peak for this opportunity. Thank you.
My name is Ulrich Wolf. I'm a curator at the Stellenbosch University Museum. We are honored to have been part of this project, and we plan to host the exhibition at the University Museum next year. I hope this exhibition can inspire those who do not know the stories behind Nelson Mandela and Rosa Parks to reflect on their own stories and find the courage to instigate change in their own communities, both here in South Africa and in the United States. I think we can all learn to find ways to become agents of change in this world. Change starts with each of us. Thanks to these two icons, this exhibition promises to help do just that.
Greetings, I'm Kurt Dewhurst. I'm the Director of Arts and Cultural Partnerships For University Outreach and Engagement, a curator at the MSU Museum, and a professor at Michigan State University. What have I learned while working on this exhibition? Working as a member of a talented and inspiring collaborative exhibition team, I've come to appreciate even more the lasting relevance of the words and lives of Mr. Mandela and Mrs. Parks for today and for future generations. Over the years, the MSU Museum and Mandela Museum have forged a rich collaborative partnership that has led to exhibitions, educational programs, conferences, student and staff exchanges, and consultations. We are very grateful for this partnership and look forward to future U.S. and South Africa museum collaborations.
I'm A.B. Collins from Dreamview Media, and we're responsible for the design and layout of the Mandela Parks traveling exhibition. It's been both an honor and a privilege to work on a project involving two massive icons like Mrs. Parks and Mr. Mandela.
Yeah, as Evan mentioned, it is a privilege and a huge honor, and just adds value to the work we do, to be able to do work with a purpose and meaning, and we hope that it carries meaning for as far and as long as it travels.
Madiba, Nelson Mandela, and Mrs. Rosa Parks continue as role models, phenomenal role models of determination and courage, wisdom and humility for us no matter what walk of life we're in. We can envision this exhibit as the possibility for having hundreds of students, thousands of people from the community, families, community members, realizing that everyday folk like us all have the power collectively to change the world, to change our communities and ourselves. It always seems impossible until it's done, Madiba said, and we believe it.
Hello, colleagues in South Africa and in the US. Wow, this day is finally here. I can't believe it. Well, I would like to say thank you so much to each and every one of you. Your contribution didn't go unnoticed. We saw your enthusiasm. We saw your passion. We saw you dedicating your time with this project. We are here today because you brought us here through your hard work. Colleagues, I can't thank you enough. I won't name you one by one. You know yourselves, but I really would like to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's continue working together the way you have been working together in this project in the future. I would like to see you guys in the future. Thank you so much.
My name is Pumeza Mandela. While I was working on the exhibition, I learned that hope and resilience and leadership is still possible when those values are valued by all of us. And this global exhibition will make the museum visitors to understand how their values and commitment to making the world a better place and remain vital now as they were during their lifetime. Nelson Mandela's unbreakable spirit has inspired a lot of people around the globe to mobilize for human rights and contribute to a worldwide crusade. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Vanessa Mitchell and I work for Robben Island Museum. And my most memorable occasion with Nelson Mandela was on the 24th of September 1997. I'll never forget that day. I was given the honor and the privilege of having to pick Madiba up from the helipad on Robben Island and take him to the prison hall where he was to open up the museum officially on that day. I took him to the hall, he did his speech, and on the way back to the helipad, I was so excited, my palms were sweating and I didn't know how to ask this famous man for a photograph with him. He got out of the vehicle, walked to the helicopter, turned around, and I was wondering what he was going to say to me. Turned back and he said, "Don't you want to take a photograph with me?" I was shocked. I didn't know what to do. Fortunately, I had a camera in my pocket. For the life of me, I can't remember who took the photograph, but I have the photograph with Nelson Mandela on that day 24th of September 1997. I will never forget it. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the team. That is the team that has revamped this exhibition. As you'll see within the panels of the exhibition, that their credits are that they are being acknowledged as the members that have revamped this. We are proceeding with our program. We are going to the message of the funders. We have a message from Jenna from the US Embassy here in South Africa. She will be giving a speech to us. Tim, when you're ready. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, visitors, Nelson Mandela Museum staff, council members, partners at Michigan State University, the Rosa and Raymond Parks Institute, and all other partners. My name is Jahan Jones-Radgowski, and I'm the Public Affairs Officer at the United States Consulate General in Cape Town. I'm delighted to join you all today to celebrate the launch of this newly updated exhibit, Dear Mr. Mandela, Dear Miss Parks, Children's Letters, Global Lessons. Although I'm new to the consulate in Cape Town, I've already heard how popular this exhibit has been over the years and how demand for it continues around South Africa and beyond. Our partnership began in September 2020 when the U.S. Consulate General in Cape Town issued a grant to the Nelson Mandela Museum in partnership with Michigan State University to update, expand, and digitize the exhibit. So today's event is very exciting. Indeed, the messages conveyed by this exhibit endure in their relevance and importance more now than ever. As an author myself of biographies for youth about heroes and leaders, I understand what a powerful learning tool leaders like Nelson Mandela and Rosa Parks can offer. I grew up learning about both of them, and sincerely, I believe that we can never move forward until we fully embrace the wisdom of the past. The principles they lived by and the courage they displayed continue to resonate and provide important lessons for youth. Our work in the Eastern Cape is of importance to all of us, and the opportunity to work on a project that honors South Africa's great Nelson Mandela in the province of his birth is of great privilege. In addition, our embassy in South Africa honored Rosa Parks by naming our American library in Soweto the Rosa Parks Library. This library was originally founded in the 1970s and offered an important and free source of information that was otherwise unavailable, and some of it even banned in South Africa during the apartheid years. The library was also a safe haven and offered protection from police to those protesting against apartheid. In 2006, members of the library's community in Soweto suggested naming the library after Rosa Parks to honor her commitment to the principles of human rights and freedom. The Rosa Parks Library is part of a network of American corners around South Africa and would be a wonderful space to share this exhibit. We are privileged to have the opportunity to support this worthy project and work with all of you. By updating, expanding, and digitizing this exhibit, it will be accessible to the new generation of youth at museums around South Africa and beyond through its digital platform. This project has provided an opportunity for South African and American partners to collaborate and build relationships with each other. The fact that so many partners are here today attests to the strength of these relationships. We trust that friendships will continue. It has been an honor to work with you all, and I look forward to seeing the museum and the exhibits in person in the near future.
To our funders, that is the US Embassy, we are now to proceed to the family. We are so great that we have one of the family members, Miss Ndilega. I won't say that now she's here as a council member, no. I will say that she's here as a family representative. If we can have you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Molweni. Ninjani. You know, from a family perspective, I would like to say thank you to the chairperson, to the people that are behind this, you know, Sis Nelly, to the CEO, to the funders, to Michigan University. You know, history is important because we are who we are because of our history. And if we don't know where we come from, we don't have a radar of where we're going. Today, I would really like to speak to the youth because both Mrs. Rosa Parks and Granddad had an affinity for children. Umvusi earlier on asked a question, are we doing enough as a people in terms of education for our children? The answer is no. This little child that was doing ubonga spoke about it, that izikolo ezakhiwa nguMadiba ziyavuthuluka. Abantwana batya inyawupe. Sinabantwana abamithayo esikolweni. So we're not doing enough, not at all. And we need to look at our souls of what has gone wrong with us as adults, that everything is going array. You also asked a question of racism. We're not doing enough in racism. As recently as last week, Gareth Cliff on live television had to tell a child who was talking about racism that yours is just an anecdote. That, to me, goes to the heart of racism in this country, that we have not dealt with it. Yes, the generation of my grandfather were apologetic to say that let's reconcile. However, we cannot reconcile with people that do not want to reconcile. What are we doing about it? Honestly, we cannot keep on making excuses for people that do not want to reconcile. If we have the Gareth Cliffs of this world saying that on national television and no recourse, they face no recourse from the Human Rights Council, we have a serious problem. We really have a serious problem. We need to look at ourselves as adults to actually direct these children. Granddad learned to be the leader that he was. Ngokubukela ibhunga. Utatomkhulu wayebukela ibhunga kwaKosi Jongintaba. He became the renowned leader that he was and became a consultative leader because he watched King Jongintaba conduct tribal council and listen to izibonda kwilali zonke, and he became this consultative leader. Nowadays, if you dare criticize the government, you are seen as a counter-revolutionist. We have a serious problem because we cannot talk about things that are not going right because you are seen as a counter-revolutionist. Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu, Nelson Mandela, they encourage debate because when people disagree with you, it is the people that disagree with you that you can learn from. You can never learn from people that agree with you at all. So we need to start to have an intergenerational discourse, what I call an intergenerational dialogue of the elderly because they come namava, ngamaqala, manamava, and you, the youth, because you are people of action. You also understand the world that we live in today. We live in the age of IT. We live in the fourth industrial revolution, and you are IT savvy. How can you help us, assist us, Tina, of the generation of the 60s, to actually spearhead our world forward? In this day and age, that our schools are still lacking in teachers of English, science, technology is a challenge when we live in the fourth industrial revolution. Why can't our basic education minister mandate the fund that they subsidize the private schools, because private schools are subsidized by government. For that subsidy, for them to qualify for it, they must mandate that they must teach a child in the rural areas. Make sure that these are not just talks. These are things that can be implemented because you cannot be able to participate in things that cut-edge technology. I travel a lot for my foundation. I have seen I saw children from grade 7 learning robotics. We are so far behind in that because of what is happening in our country. And it is up to you, the youth, to actually mandate. Do not say that I'm not going to go and vote. Go and look for a candidate that mimics your value system, because nowadays we always vote for people because of rhetoric. That is why we are in this, what Zizi Kota called the precipitous perpendicular point. It is because we do not vote for people that mimic our own value system. We just go because a person has a gift of the gab. Go and look for, there's people that are independent candidates that will be the real vanguard of the people. Go and vote for people that are from your communities, because those people will not be towing political lines. They will be doing things that resonate with you. They will be making sure that schools are built, ablution facilities are built. There are no children that fall in pit latrines because money has been embezzled. So do not vote because a person has a gift of...
My name is Christo Brandt. I was one of the former...
Our country, 60% of South African population is of young people, and your generation is not voting. Because I actually don't blame you, Mandela, because we have let you down. Each generation here, we have let you down big time, and we need to apologize to you. And I apologize on behalf of my generation that we have dropped the ball when it comes to you. So please go en masse and vote for people that are coming from your own communities, because those people, you can go and confront them when they don't do what they promise, rather than the politicians that stay at parliament and you can't even confront. With those few words, I say that be like Rosa Parks. Have the courage of your own convictions. We wouldn't be here today if the generation of my grandfather did not say enough is enough. And they did that while they were young. We are relying on you to say, you, my generation, sizawunichala ngemva, nizakwenza into eziright. So I would urge you to go and vote for independent candidates that will be able to deliver to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I can see, Sis Dilega, that you have brought to us the Madiba for the children. We're so much thankful for that. We must take note on such things as we brought you the Madiba for the children. Now we are going to, someone just spoiled the surprise for me by coming to me, of which it was going to be a surprise. Of the acknowledgement of this person, because I wanted to surprise everyone about this. We got amongst us the actor himself, Mr. Jed Novuga, as I wanted it to be a surprise, but someone says you didn't, he's here with the excitement. If you can stand forth so that we can fully acknowledge you, sir. Thank you so much. Now you see why I've put you on the side as my surprise, because I knew the excitement, and then people are now going to come, and then there's going to be distraction, you know? So thank you so much. We are going to proceed as we're about to have, we had experienced some technical problems with it. Now we're going to have a speech from Mr. Christo Brandt, who was a warden who have worked closely with Utata Mandela in the time of his imprisonment. Let's hear what he had to say. Whilst that video is playing, we're all going to keep quiet. Please, thank you so much.
My name is Christo Brandt. I was one of the former prison guards on Robben Island guarding Nelson Mandela. Down-to-earth person who helped people around him. There's a person who changed Robben Island, tried to change Robben Island into university. And he was a person get funding from the outside world from all over to get students study on Robben Island. He goes so far, even smuggled a letter to my wife to put pressure to me to study also. And you know, I was with Mandela from 1978 on Robben Island when he was the age of 60 years old. I was only 18 years old when I started there. I was told they're going to meet the biggest criminals in the history of South Africa, but I met elderly people, humble people, down to earth. And you know, there was a time on Robben Island where I smuggled a baby for Mandela, where I could have seen when he touched this baby, we get tears in his eyes and become emotional. You know, in the same time, on Paulsmoor prison, when I was in charge of the Mandela group, Mandela was a person asked me and one day for help. He was struggling with his LLB degree with one subject. That subject was practical Afrikaans, where I helped him, guide him, everything, and he could have passed his practical Afrikaans. There was a time where Mandela helped me again as a lawyer, where I was in a motorcycle accident, where I asked him for some advice and help because I could have not afford a lawyer, where he said to me, Mr. Brandt, that is small fry. Let me look into this, and he drafted the letters. My wife typed it, we posted, and we won the case. You know, and there was also incident that happened 1985. I come that day back from my Christmas lunch. When I walk into the section, and there was only 5 of them in that section, walk in the section, he said, Mr. Brandt, it's Christmas today. People all over the world celebrating Christmas. And we as prisoners can't celebrate it because our families didn't come at all to visit us in December. I said, can we celebrate with you as guards? I look at him, I said, Mandela, how you want to do that? He said, Mr. Brandt, if we sit around a table and drink a coffee together, that will be a celebration. So we as guards drink a coffee around a table with him because it was isolated. Our superiors could have not catch us off guard, everything. So after this coffee session for Christmas, I said to him, Mandela, everything was fine. I tell him first, it's the first time in my life I sat with a prisoner around a table and drinking coffee. Everything was fine, but your fruitcake was very bad. He looked at me, he said, Mr. Brandt, you forget something. You was the one who bought us the fruitcake. So immediately I explained him that the shops bake fruitcake in bulk and they don't put in brandies and liqueurs. And I explained him about my wife's fruitcake, which I take him a piece of my wife's fruitcake. And then after that, he was ordering from my wife fruitcake without the authorities, no. But after he left prison, 1990, I still issued him fruitcake till he had passed. 94, when Mandela became the president, I was one of the first persons invited to different functions. I worked in his office in Parliament for a few weeks. Then I worked with Cyril Ramaphosa with the drafting of the Constitution. But when the Constitution was adopted, Mandela was the first person offer me a job offer at the Nelson Mandela Foundation. That was in Johannesburg. And I explained to him, I would love to work for you, but please not in Johannesburg. I want to stay in Cape Town. Then he called Ahmed Kathradra, we called him Kathy, and he gave me a job offer at Robben Island Museum. So I worked with Robben Island Museum from 1997, the first ones selling tickets to tourists, open kiosk shops for the museum, and also do some private tours for the museum. I worked 21 years for the museum, but now I'm retired, and I'm still speaking the legacy of Nelson Mandela.
That was a great speech coming from him, with such a reflection, working closely with him. For now, before we go to our vote of thanks, we're going to have 2 entertainments, and then we have our CEO, Mr. Kulu, to come forth and then give a vote of thanks. Thank you so much. We'll request Nurse Pendu Cultural Group to come forth. After that, it will be the marimba to come play. And then we'll give the floor to our CEO. Thank you so much. I've requested Nose Pendu Cultural Group to take the stage. After that, it will be the marimba. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to North Pendu Cultural Group. They've been showing us their diverse cultural traditional dances. Thank you so much for that. Now for the marimba. After that, we're just going to go back a bit with our program after the marimba. Thank you so much. If I'm correct, I think that song was saying Sabela Uyabe. Isn't it saying so? Each one. But I thought that the audience will sing along when that was playing, but I can see my audience is not that much active. Ne? But no, it's fine. Let us proceed. As I said, that we'll go back with our program. There is a speaker because of the technical problems. My reflections with Mrs. Park, working with Mrs. Parks. We are now about to play a video of Miss Elaine Still, the founder of the Rosa and Raymond Parks Institute Self-Development in the Detroit in US. If the team can play it for us, thank you so much.
I'm Elaine Eason Still, co-founder of the Rosa and Raymond Parks Institute for Self-Development. Parks. Co-founded the Institute in 1987. I learned about Rosa Parks in school like many students did. I think it was the third grade, perhaps, that I learned about Mrs. Parks. So when I had the opportunity to meet her, which was still in elementary school, but I think I was about in the 5th grade. When I was in Cass Technical High School, I got an after-school job at the Stockton Sewing Factory. When I started working there, she was my seatmate. And to say that I was more than excited is putting it mildly. It was, just a complete joy. My sewing machine was next to Mrs. Park's sewing machine. And it was just a plum pleasing pleasure to be sitting next to her, to history, to someone that everyone knew. And, and she was just a joy. At the federal building, I worked for the United States District Court and Mrs. Parks worked for Congressman John Conyers. And I did some volunteer work for the congressman. And when I was up there one day to work, and Mrs. Parks came in, I said, "Oh, Mrs. Parks," and she said, "Oh, Elaine," and we renewed our friendship, and we were just tight ever since. And that friendship continued. Found out that Mrs. Parks and I lived in the same neighborhood, and we began traveling home together. Mrs. Parks, in fact, loved Raymond dearly, wanted him to be recognized because he had sacrificed so much for her and the community. And he enjoyed working with and for the community. And she wanted him to continue in a spot, in a place where he was still recognized. Purpose of the Institute is to motivate youth between the ages of 11 and 17 to reach their highest potential. And since we were so blessed to have Rosa Parks amongst us, and most of the young people had heard the name, but to be in her presence was indeed an honor. And, you know, anything she said, they thought was gold was dripping from her lips. So whatever she said, they wanted to know more about. And, you know, so the fact that she lived in Detroit, close to many of them, that she wanted to share her experiences with them, that made them feel very important and made them want to learn more about her, their history, and the civil rights movement in general. How we brought the Pathways Freedom to Life for the students of the Rosa and Raymond Parks Institute was that we would take them to the sites. We traveled not only in Detroit, where the Institute was founded, but we went to Alabama, where Mrs. Parks and Mr. Parks were born and lived for many years before moving to Detroit. They were able to see those old home sites. They were able to go and visit the churches that they, in fact, attended or were members of. So there was a lot of things that the young people enjoyed doing because they were in the presence of Mrs. Rosa Parks, and they indeed knew how famous she was, and they came to understand Mr. Parks and his contributions to the movement too. We became the best of friends, and I began to travel with her throughout the world, actually, because not only did we go throughout the United States, but we also traveled to Europe and to Africa. So it was really a very, very historical time, as well as an educational time and being with her. Mrs. Parks was a very mild and meek and warm person to everyone she came in contact with. Now, occasionally there would be some people that wanted to push her over the edge. And when that occurred, she handled it very ladylike and ended the conversation. It was just a joy to listen to her because people wanted to hear that soft-spoken voice and how clear she was about the experiences she had had. Rosa Parks invited you. You didn't need any money or anything. You just came. Her response to any of us was the same as she would make to dignitaries. She was just Rosa Parks, throughout her life. And it was just a pleasure being with someone who was not only committed, but dedicated to teaching the history of their people. Parks was very pleased, as most people were, to meet Nelson Mandela. And it was, when they met, it was a wonderful time because they were just as enthusiastic about the other. He was enthusiastic about her. She was enthusiastic about meeting him. And they just had a quick but wonderful conversation. And as he disembarked from the plane when he arrived from South Africa, the first person that he recognized was Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks. He was so excited to meet her. And it was very interesting to me because I expected it. But the other people who had come to greet him, they were, they like wanted to be recognized. And when he only knew Mrs. Parks and was only interested in Mrs. Parks, they were just a little bit thrown off base. Civil rights movement is something that I hope will always be studied. I would like to thank everybody responsible for helping us to learn more about President Nelson Mandela, as well as Mother Rosa Parks, mother of the Civil Rights Movement.
Ms. Elaine Stoll, the founding director of the Rosa and Raymond Institute for the Self-Development in Detroit, in USA. Thank you so much for that. We are now to proceed to our CEO, Mr. Bonke Kulu, to give us a vote of thanks. After that, we are to proceed to see this giant that we've been talking about of an exhibition. Thank you so much, sir.
Ngozi, Program Director, I know I'm not as short as Upratet. At least I'm much taller than him, with 5 centimeters, at least. I think Program Director, the Nelson Mandela Museum Council is led by Dr. Mvusi Songelwa. The entire council of the museum, I know you should be excited because of all of us are excited today. You should be excited because we have carried the legacy of Tatu Matiba with humility. We have tried our level best to emulate Matiba's values. We've traveled across the world, spreading the gospel about the importance, the relevance of Tatu Matiba, a giant, an elephant. And they say if you are eating an elephant, you have to take one piece at a time. That's Matiba to us. I know that all of us in the museum are excited, not only because we work for this organization, but because we contribute towards what Matiba would have wanted. We have carried forward that journey of him with many children of the world. And today marks that occasion. I think, Program Director, it is an irony that we are gathered here today because of young kids who were not only brave, but who were eager, who were energetic, and clear that they were able to write letters to both Mamu Parks and Tata Matiba. They were very clear in the messages they sent as part of those letters. A 10-year-old chairperson to write a letter to Mama Parks. A 13-year-old South African to write a letter to Matiba and wish him a happy 90th birthday. And also say, please, if you have time, please join me as I'll be celebrating my birthday. I think, to me, that was so exciting in everything that has been said about the importance of Matiba in the world, the bravery of those kids. I know, Chair, this is the last part of this occasion, but it's important to reflect in a very brief way and also acknowledge the funding provided by the U.S. Embassy. I wish to state, Chair, that the Embassy was very clear. It gave us enough time and space to plan accordingly. You know, Chair, that many funders would dictate the end product. I think I must commend the U.S. Embassy for not dictating what the kind of product we should have. And I hope that this is not the end of our partnership. I'm not going to mention any names of those who were part of different organizations, but I know you did mention the organizations, but also allow me just to mention those. The partnership with Michigan State University, which has that partnership enabled the museum to explore the U.S. market, the U.S. universities, the U.S. museums, the foundations and other institutions. So I think we should be grateful to that partnership. When a group was performing, and after that there was Mind Builders performing, I know Mataha is listening. Mataha is the founder and CEO of Mind Builders. I think in 2017, when we went to Mind Builders, they were hosting a festival. I want to challenge Mataha that at least one of these three groups, when they next host a festival in New York, they must invite but not only invite, take care of all the logistics. I know, Mataha, that you would accept my challenge with beautiful, great hands. I have accepted your challenge that your group today will perform here in South Africa, no matter how it was performing. but it was here where with your group. So it's time when we next host your program that we have our group. I wouldn't say any which group, but any of that. At the council, the museum staff, abantu basemthatha, the departments, the municipalities, it has been a very long 12 months period, engaging, exchanging ideas and co-creating until we have come to this day. I think this started about 2 years ago, not 3 years ago, when we had a meeting with the embassy in Cape Town to say, I think one of the questions was, why are you not funding Nelson Mandela Museum? They said, you never submitted any funding. So we did it last year, and we're grateful they were of great assistance. Program director, I was not aware that we have that skill. Chair, you are in charge of this important organization. What I was listening to this afternoon was showing the relevance of the museum, not only in a cultural environment, but within the social space, the public discourse on a number of issues. I think we showed that we can reclaim our position of why the museum was established, not shying away from relevant questions and discussions. It is up to us to ensure that we ask those questions, but also we provide a space for all of us to share, ask questions, but also find answers. It is up to us to find those answers. We have learned, and we're going to learn from the letters that those kids send to these two icons. But I think, Chair, what is also key in a way of appreciating the team. I mentioned Michigan State University. The O Street Museum is in US. The Rosa and Raymond Parks Foundation, the Stellenbosch University Museum, the Robben Island Museum, that kind of a partnership, I think not only us as a museum, everybody who's listening to us today should find a space to be part of such organizations on a number of ways. You don't have to work for them to be part of such discussions. There's always a way in which one can participate on a program that those organizations are doing. As you would know that we have a number of programs around youth development. We have an e-legacy program. We have youth and training development jointly with the Nelson Mandela University at Quebec. I want to mention two colleagues. I call them South African Americans. These are Professor McDowell and Professor Juhest. I think their blood is green and gold. They carry this South African flag with pride. Hence, I call them South African Americans. But they were born in America. But their spirits and hearts are here. Let's appreciate these two. I know the work we put up, the long hours, we would have meetings at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, engaging with Americans so that we do have what we have today. They were doing that work at no cost to us. Robben Island, Stellenbosch, Michigan, it was voluntary. Exactly what Tatu Matiba would have wanted, that people of the world come together to create something special. We really appreciate that. And to Dream Fuel, the guys who were putting together the exhibition, they did not disappoint us. We appreciate. We appreciate everybody who has been here, those who are still to join. I know some of us are still to visit the museum. I want to thank them for that, what is going to happen, because we must continue visiting museums. We must continue using such spaces for a number of societal programs. We cannot talk about social cohesion if we don't use a Nelson Mandela Museum for such programs. Thank you very much, colleagues of the museum. Right now, we will proceed to where the exhibition is. I'm going to first allow this group, thereafter this group will follow because of the logistics. Umis, program director, is going to lead us. Then once we are done, we will come back because we have a meeting with the council in that office. After we are done, we'll go to that meeting, not this office, that corner. There's a meeting taking place once you are done. I wish to thank you everybody who has been here, not by names, but I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
It is an honor for us to be sharing this exhibition, a platform, with a person of the caliber of Mrs. Rosa Parks, who is recognized as the mother of the U.S. civil rights movement. Another great American, W.E. Du Bois, warned that the problem of the last century was the problem of the color line. We tried to remove the prism of race from the way people look at the world. Mrs. Parks.
Hey,